We're rolling.
Welcome. Spins shit. Can you spin me back?
Yes, do it that way.
You know what?
No, you face that way, and I'll face this way.
We're talking with Ted Witcher, writer and director of Love Jones.
Yes.
Witcher.
Yes.
How does it feel to be
Interrogated by you?
Black Hollywood royalty?
I am not Black Hollywood royalty.
You don't think?
No. Who would be black? It's like Spike Lee is Black Hollywood.
Would you get the water bottle out of my shot? Given the success of the soundtrack of Love Jones, did you have a clear picture from the beginning about how music would play a part in this film?
Yeah, because well, you have to when you're making the film, you have to you basically interview all of the record companies. They basically come to pitch you, and they go through and they say these are the artists we have, and this is the kind of record we could make. And on Love Jones, I wanted obviously, based on the subject matter of the movie and the characters in the movie and the world of the movie, I wanted a very particular kind of sound. I didn't want a kind of cookie cutter, sort of mainstream, even mainstream R&B sound for that time, because I didn't think it would be appropriate for those characters. And at that time, Columbia Records, and there was this sort of movement called that we now look back and we call neo soul, but there happened to be, a certain movement, musical movement going on at the time we were making the picture, and a number of those artists just happened to be on Columbia Records. And so we made the record at Sony, at Columbia.
Name a few of those artists.
Well, they had the Fugees, and so that meant they had Lauryn Hill. They had Maxwell. They had some other groups that Milky and Sadek, that Wyclef Jean was affiliated with, and they had some other artists like Trina Broussard, who did a great cover on the record. And because it was Sony, they also owned the masters already to the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra. They owned the masters to that Duke Ellington-John Coltrane collaboration, In a Sentimental Mood. And so that was an easy fit for the record. And then we kind of grabbed some other things to go along with it. Cassandra Wilson, obviously, we came in, I think she was on Blue Note at the time. She came in and gave us a track. And who else was it? It was the other big one that I wanted to mention.
Hopeless.
Right, there was Dion Ferris was on the label as well. That's who I had forgotten to mention. And that was a big thing for us to have that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we grabbed, and at the last minute we were able to grab Michelle and Deggiocello had done a duet with Marcus Miller that we were able to grab and put in the movie and on the record as well. So it just so happened that we were at a company, we could kind of build this kind of thing in this particular style, in this particular sound.
Because the soundtrack was so successful, I mean, how does that, when the movie was out and the movie became, such a classic and people connected to it so much, did it make you feel like you knew something, you had an insight to the music business after that experience?
Yeah, I had an insight into the music business. And my insight is I never want to be in the music business again because the music business is very challenging. The music business makes the movie business look like going to the corner store to get some tomato sauce.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's very challenging, very difficult. But I feel like my takeaway from it is that I got really, really lucky. I just happened to be at the right time, at the right company, with the right group of artists who got exactly what we were trying to do. I mean, we sent the movie to Lauren because I wanted a Lauren solo track.
Yeah.
And
well, you knew she was going to be huge.
Of course. I mean, she actually almost wound up in the movie. It was a scheduling thing because the Fugees, that record, the score was blowing up consistently week after week, and the Fugees' touring schedule prevented her from actually getting to Chicago to be in the movie.
Perhaps you saw Sister Act 2.
But the point I was making is that when we were cutting the picture, we sent the movie to Lauren, and she called back and was like, "I got the perfect song for this." I don't even think it wasn't even like a new thing. It was like, "Oh, I know exactly what that is.
Wow.
I happen to have a song in my back pocket that will be perfect for that." And she sent over a finished version of "Sweetest Thing," and I was like, "Bing, that's it. That's going in, done."
So Love Jones 2, I will be in the soundtrack, is what we're getting at.
There is not at this moment going to be a Love Jones 2, but if there were, you would be on the soundtrack.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Oh, and
Yes.
and you know why you'd be on the soundtrack?
Why?
Because apparently you're the only person who can get a hold of Prince.
Ha!
Because I tried to get Prince. I cut a scene in the movie. It will go there. I won't mention. I cut a scene in the movie
Oh, right.
to a Prince song, and so comes down the road. We try to get the clearance, and
won't give it.
Can't nobody?
Can nobody get a
Can't
clearance
nobody
from
get a hold of
Prince?
it? Can't nobody get a hold of it? So this was in particular. This was like 90 whatever 6 7 something. He was like his angry Prince phase where he didn't have
Was
a.
that the artist formerly known as?
No,
Faith?
this was past that, but it was still angry Prince where he like didn't have a manager, didn't have an agent, had like fired his agent, like nobody was
Cat
running.
Stevens period.
Right, he had gone and he was like booking his own gigs.
All right.
He was in that phase. So we were like, well, we'll just call him. And we'd send a fax and call us off, and then nobody would answer, nobody called us back. I'm like, we need a clearance for this song. So
Oh my
so in
gosh.
the end, it wasn't a no. We never got a hold of him to even ask.
That's just it. It's the red tape.
Right. So we wound up having to put another song in the movie. Now, here's the punchline. Here's the punchline. Flash forward. Prince writes a song about the movie
On the couch?
On the couch, right? From musicology, which was I had no idea. So as it turns
And
out,
Call My Name's on Musicology.
and Call My Name's on Musicology. That's exactly right. See, that's our connection. But Prince, and so years later, I ran into Prince, and he was like, "Oh, he loved the movie." So it was. I'm grateful that he liked the movie.
Well, that's great.
I'm a slightly disappointed still that I didn't have a Prince song in the movie.
Well, Love Jones too. I'll call him up.
Call him up since you got the inside track to Prince.
Love Jones was one of the first movies that just depicted, a black couple, and it didn't have anything to do with hip hop or drugs or the street or anything like that. It depicted that, an intellectual black couple, a romantic movie with African American people in it. How do you think that altered, because of the success and the cult following of the movie, how do you think that altered the industry or do you think it has?
Oh, I think it had a little bit of influence. I'm not the guy to sort of overstate that kind of thing. But I know some other filmmakers who regard the movie very well and who called me and said very nice things and sort of maybe took this or that or were inspired to come up with something, for their own pictures. And for that, I'm very grateful. But I'm not the person to sit and say that the movie was tremendously influential or changed anything. It's a movie that people liked and other filmmakers liked, and over time it has built an audience of people who really enjoy the picture, and that's good.
Do you feel like there are other movies like that where race is not the subject matter?
Yeah, well, I will say that after as we got later into the '90s, and then it became then that concern started to become not really the concern not really the subject matter of black movies. We moved on into some other stuff, which is cool, because do we really want to be talking about white people all the time?
How did the movies of your youth that you grew up with shape what you wanted to make? Was it as influential as the music Hendrix listened to that ultimately led Hendrix to be who he was?
Well, I don't know that I really was able to, because it was really it was my first picture, so I don't really know that I even had enough technical command to be able to express the influences that I had to their maximum potential. Because I was trying to, on that picture I was shooting for something, like a Woody Allen thing, but all the other filmmakers that I loved at the time as well, Krzysztof Kieślowski and Martin Scorsese and all these other cats, I'm not sure that the picture is, that those influences made their way into the movie as deeply as I feel them. You know what I mean?
Well, I think sometimes, playing on what you just said, people always ask about influences, but you don't know, it's a collective consciousness thing. Like, you may like something, it doesn't mean you're going to hit it. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to achieve it.
Right, sure.
And
That's
it also,
exactly right.
you may look back and say, oh, I must have been influenced by this.
That's exactly right.
Because I look at myself, I look at my work, I must have been influenced by X, Y, or Z.
That's exactly right. Particularly on a movie where you make them, it's tricky, man, because you make them So I guess sort of like making a record, but on a movie, you make it in such tiny little pieces that you don't really get a sense. You're just trying to put the brick that goes right there next to that brick. And then eventually at the end of it, you have a wall.
I think
And
it's
so-
a lot like making an album.
And so,
yeah.
so you know what I mean? So you don't necessarily see, because your tunnel vision, when you're a director, your tunnel vision is so focused on getting that brick right that you might not even see the whole other thing that's going on, how the influence fits in and all this shit, because you're just trying to get that one piece right. So, but I only made the one picture, so we'll never know.
If you could change one thing about the way you made the picture?
Wow, that's a good question. One thing. There's a lot of things I change about the movie, about the way I made it. No, I can't. I gotta be real. You know.
What would you change about the picture?
Oh, there's a lot of. It's the first movie. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. I can't even watch it. Things on television. I'm like, I don't want to watch that shit. People hit me on Twitter all the time. They're like, oh yeah, the movie's on. Are you watching? I'm like, hell no, I'm not watching.
No, I'm not watching it.
I'm watching the game. What? Why would I watch that? But there's plenty of mistakes on it. It's just it's a first picture, you know.
Right.
I go back and redo the whole thing, starting with the script. But that's another story.
And cut!